Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of the Freshman 15 College Football Podcast with me, LP Cruz, and Tyler Moore, breaking down college football in about 15 minutes. And last week we had a surprising start in week one of the college football season. First off, a major upset with Army going down to Tarleton State at West Point. Then also the Bill Belichick era not starting so good down in Chapel Hill. But before we look ahead to week two of the college football season, we'll look back one more time to week one and to break it all down. I got my man Tyler Moore. Tyler, my dude, what is up?
Not much. Pretty exciting week one. A lot of big games. A lot of things went people's way. I think we called a big one, and let's get this thing rolling.
Yeah, man, you're like a pro fisherman, so I know you caught the big one. So let's actually start off, man, with a game that I think everyone was looking at. It was the game happening in Ohio State with Texas and Ohio State. So kind of walk through that one. That was your Saturday spotlight. What did you see from that game?
Yeah, so I mean, low scoring affair. Everyone knew the defenses were going to be elite, and you and I talked about this kind of that. The offense is going to take a couple weeks to get going. So that's kind of sucks about like these big games in such early moments in the season because it's going to take a while for them to catch up. But the elite defensive play, and we got to see two very young talented quarterbacks go at it by a low scoring game. But Matt Patricia, I was worried about him going into this game. I don't know why. Johnny Manziel, he had a pretty interesting quote. I don't know if you've seen it. He said, Matt Patricia, he spent his past 20 years preparing for Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers. He's probably licking his chops, looking at someone like Arch Manning. And, we kind of see that with that play calling too, because he not only put, Arch into a blender, he put Steve Sarkisian into a blender, and they didn't know what was coming. There was one play that was really highlighted on defense where, they did 3 stunts in one defensive play, and Texas offensive line was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's just like the creativity from the NFL level coming down with such a talented roster with, we got Caleb Downs on there, and then Matthews with the interception off of that late throw to the outside from Arch, and then Sonny Styles and Reese. They might be the best linebacker combination in the country with everything that they have, and they're Igbenogson is back, and it's really fun to see. Saying he did what he was supposed to do, 13 to 20, a couple of drops by Jeremiah, uncharacteristic drops, so his stat line could have been even better. And Arch, all the hype going into it. You and I kind of talked about it a little bit on the podcast last week. Like, hey, what are we really getting with here? We've seen him play in 2 games, but it was Mississippi State and Louisiana Monroe. Like, what are we really getting here? And we kind of seen what it was like against an elite defense. But albeit it was the first game of the year. But I think he'll come around. These teams will definitely see each other again, most likely in the playoffs. So it'll be fun to come back. But it's good to hold that number 1 position after being an underdog for number 3 at your home stadium. And Lee Corso, shout out, man. First love, last love, Ohio State Buckeyes. So I don't know what you've seen from this game, but it was a fun defensive battle. And you win the game in the trenches in Ohio State. That's what they did.
And I think that, as I say, styles make fights, and I think that's totally fine. Both teams are going to have that. The fronts and the defenses own the day. As you said, the experience of Mike Patricia kind of shifted the tide a little bit. Now, the one thing I do, because I've been seeing a lot of things going around, and some of it I think is unfair. I know where it's coming from. We know exactly where it's coming from. Those that follow college football, you and I that follow college football, we know it's mostly backspill from another player who got ran through the dirt. How much of this critique is fair to Arch Manning, honestly? It's been a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's some critique. It's more so that it's just his last name. That's like what the kids say, the aura of it. And I think that hurts him just because there's like so much of a brand on him right as he comes in as the other person that you're talking about. We won't say his name, but I'm pretty sure we're thinking of the same person here. Shador. Yeah. I mean, it's basically it's the same. But I mean, Arch he is playing at a powerful, like he's playing at a blue blood college, so you expect him to be like that. And Sanders, rightfully so, had the hype, and why their opponents weren't as good as what Texas is going to see. But we're out to see what Arch really is going to be, because I haven't looked at their schedule completely, but I mean they're going to have some tough play coming up. They're going to have the game against Oklahoma. I don't know if they play Georgia or not, or LSU. I haven't looked at their schedule, so. But we'll really see what really comes of that after this week 1, because I think he's got 2 weeks of confidence builder opponents, we should say, before they get into like the conference play.
Yeah, and I'm not going to too much gas on it. I just think it's a bit of overreaction. It's the aha moment that people were looking for.
Correct.
And again, I think media coverage is a lot to blame for it. So it's just opposite ends. I'm not tripping over it. It's week 1 against a great coordinator, a great defense, as you said. And I mean, those 2 linebackers are fantastic. So it is what it is, and very versatile at that. So it is what it is. For my recap of Saturday Spotlight, I was actually down at the game at FAU in Maryland. And from being down on the field before the game, you can kind of feel the vibe on both sides. You can feel that because FAU came out first for the warm-ups, and they looked very, very confident. Like they looked like they had their juice kind of going, their swagger was going. Hours before kickoff, Maryland announces their starting quarterback is the true freshman Malik Washington. And seeing him up close, he's got great size, man. Like he's a freshman, yes, but he's built. Like he's got the strength, he's got the arm strength. He's got all that you really want out of a prospect. Most of all, his maturity is there. Like nothing seemed too big for him. He didn't seem like he was just in awe of what was happening. He seemed very, very chill. And even in the post-game presser, when I was talking to him, he just seemed like he was at ease, and it wasn't like a kind of a podium type of deal. It was like we all kind of scrummed around him and talked to him.
Okay.
And he seemed very comfortable with the situation at hand. So it just felt like he had kind of had it. Now versus FAU, I know it's not the same kind of opponent you're expecting out of a conference opponent, but just it was good to see that. When it came to FAU, they didn't do anything right at all offensively. Right. Like not one bit. They couldn't run the football. They couldn't throw the football. Their best player is their receiver, Easton Messer, who had 15 catches, but 87 yards.
Oh,
so
5 yards a catch, 5.6 yards a catch. Yeah.
Screen, man. But it shows you just the difference of what you can do with recruiting and confidence in certain teams. And their front was just overmatched by Maryland. Maryland had everything. They were getting home with 4 guys, and it was like almost instant rip, like out of the block, like instant shed blocks, like Madden. So that was a kind of a big deal. So called the upset. Not even close. Not even close. So shout out to the Terps, man. And then you had the upset of the week, but I'll go ahead and talk about mine that also failed. So
okay,
let me slide through that one. I had Syracuse and Tennessee, and although I love Fran Brown what he's doing, but they're still far off. It's just they're not quite ready. And choosing to open against Tennessee on the road is a big ask of your program. It's almost like kind of pushing them out there, see if they really got it. They didn't, and that's okay. I think Tennessee also, they still can make those big chunk plays with their offense. I mean, huge chunk plays they had 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, or 2 turnovers, and they were up 17-0. Like they kind of cruised the entire way. Like there wasn't any type of pressure from Syracuse catching them. It was kind of easy for them, I'll say.
Yeah.
So kind of missed on the upset pick, but you had a big upset you called last week.
Yeah, but I don't think I was really surprised by it. We saw it coming. A lot of people are saying it was a big one, but Florida State beating Alabama. Kalen DeBoer last year, like we said, it was so hit and miss. Even with an athlete like Joe Milton. No, not Joe Milton. Sorry.
Milroe.
Milroe. Yeah, sorry. And even with an athlete like him, they were still so up and down. And then you named Ty Simpson, who we saw a couple games last year, and we called it. It just wasn't going to be it. And that's what we seen in this game. Like there was flashes, and then there wasn't. Very undisciplined. They were. It's not like so the energy down there at was it Doak? Is it called the Doak Stadium? So the energy was popping. There Seminole Chop and all that kind of stuff, and Castanelos, I think it's his name. He infused that team. Like he didn't go anything crazy, like 152 yards passing. But they had a good run game. But it was very uncharacteristic of something that we'd see from Alabama from the past decade. Right. With Nick Saban, it's a lack of accountability, a lack of like trying. There's you see plays where like linebackers get run past and they're jogging 8 yards behind the play. Like you're not used to seeing that out of Alabama, and it hurts them. And like I'm gonna roll this into like the who hurt themselves, who had, because just to cover this, like you look at you look at Florida State, and they were so bad this year. They won 2 games. They were ranked probably somewhere like 80s or something. And then
Mm-hmm.
they get this game against Alabama. They're boosted in the top 25. I mean, rightfully so. I think they're at 14 right now. You could keep them down in the 20s because we don't. I don't think Alabama's that good. And so to roll into this, who helped them hurt themselves, and it's going to be Alabama and Kalen DeBoer.
Has to be.
Because I mean, yeah, they've lost this game, and then I mean, when you get into SEC play, you got Tennessee, you got LSU, you got Georgia, you got South Carolina, and now you got Oklahoma. Now, I mean, that's 5. Is he even going to make it out of Tuscaloosa this year? Because we know those fans aren't patient. Like,
They don't play.
they've been spoiled like the Patriots were for 20 years, having Nick Saban since like 2007 or whatever it was, and now you're like, wow, this is what this really tastes like, and it hurts. They got so much money in Tuscaloosa for boosters and stuff like that. I don't know who they're gonna get, but I mean, I don't think he's gonna make it out because from what we've seen, Tennessee looks like for real. Talk about another person who hurt themselves, Nico. South Carolina, Sellers, he's gonna be real. Georgia's always gonna be good. We don't know what Oklahoma is. We find that out this weekend. LSU, they look like they could be the real deal. They had that game down to the wire against Clemson. So yeah, for week 1, the biggest one for me is Alabama and Kalen DeBoer specifically. I don't think he's gonna make it out of there this year.
Yeah, man. I mean, you definitely were reading my mind on that one. 'Cause I just think the exact same thing, and it's just something's not quite right. And you talked about the effort; it's not. And the thing is, this team has been the gold standard of college football for the last 20 years,
Correct.
consistently. And it's not about talent, man, because they have talent. They have a stacked draft class. I mean, every draft class, recruiting class, year in, year out. So it's not what it is, man. I think even when he was announced, though, I think me, you, and Cam kind of thought about it like, he might not be the right fit, though.
Correct.
And as the saying goes, not all money is good money. And it's just like, yes, it's a great job. Yes, it's great money, but he may not be the right fit. And so even watching him get challenged like that by Castellanos pregame and still get kind of smoked, dropping only 17 points with that roster.
Yeah.
Nah, man, the effort's not there. It's like they don't have the inspiration. And I don't think it's Saban. I mean, you could say that. But who knows? Who knows? And I think just that loss plus the ones last year. And look at the loss of last year, because you're going to not be happy with that. If you're a fan, you're not happy.
Correct.
You lose to Tennessee, lose to Vanderbilt, and we forgot about Vanderbilt. That was a big one.
Yeah.
Oklahoma with a quarterback change. Michigan, that was bad last year. I mean, it's just, you put the losses together, it starts to look really, really bad for him. And it's a consistent pattern of losing against lesser opponents. That won't fly in Tuscaloosa. It won't fly.
Yep.
And that's kind of the issue, man. He's kind of put himself in the crosshairs now. With that loss, they're looking dead at him like, yo, this may not be our guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100%. I'm with you. He hurt himself the most last week. No questions asked.
Yeah, I would say Clemson too, but that LSU team, that defense might be for real. They fly around, and that was a fun game to watch. Even though one of my teams that I picked to go to the national championship is lost already, but that's to still be determined on what actually plays out. But yeah, this week, week 2 is actually a pretty light week. You get a lot of those non-conference, easy schedule games that most people don't really want to see. I mean, Ohio State plays on the Big Ten Network, so does Penn State. They play on the Big Ten Network, so there's nothing crazy. But I think the game everyone is going to be watching is Michigan versus Oklahoma. That's the big one for this week. We get to see Bryce Underwood. He looked good against New Mexico last week. And we get to see what he does against the Oklahoma defense. We get to see what Mater does. He looked good in his game last week. So now we get to see how they stack up against, these teams have a week of continuity now. They have actual tape on each other and stuff like that. So we get to see what Michigan's dual threat quarterback is all about. We get to see what I think Mater's a transfer, correct? We get to see what he's all about. So that's like the only big game for this week. So I think that's the one everyone's gonna be watching, and that's a night game.
Yeah, man. It's the quarterbacks for me. The same game, same Saturday spotlight game, Michigan, Oklahoma. I think that the detraction is the quarterbacks. It's Bryce Underwood. It's also Mater. And just because I think Mater can really do a lot for his own stock by having a big year in Norman, and then for Underwood, he looks very just composed, man. I mean, I get the opponent. It makes a lot of sense to me,
Correct.
Of course, but he's very composed. He's got the dual threat aspect of it, and he just has a lot of good characteristics, strong arm, touch, can run the football, and doesn't seem like he's outmatched at all. So, but we'll see though, because again, going up against a Brett Venables defense is not going to be light work.
Correct.
So I think that's going to be impressive in that environment.
Yep.
The key storyline though is the BS suspension of Jayshawn Barham.
Yeah. First half out. Yeah. That wasn't even close. And I know I'm not even
whack.
like I'm a Michigan hater, but that was nowhere needed to be an ejection. That's just, like you said, that was straight whack.
And it does, really, help them out a lot. Just, getting their spots, running the football in the first half. I just think, man, it's just unfair. It's really been unfair, and they're doing too much with the targeting. But again, that's the game of the week to watch. To go back one step, though, did you watch the game with Miami and Notre Dame?
Yes, I did.
I walked away, man, very impressed by the defensive line, offensive line of Miami.
Yes.
They held up so well on both sides, man. I'm not saying that they're putting it all together and stuff like that, but I was very impressed how they handled a Notre Dame front like it was nothing.
Correct. Yeah, and then they kind of held Jeremiah Love in check, which is very surprising.
They did.
But that's kind of to go off that point. That's kind of what they had to do because CJ Carr, like before the game even showed, they said he's never thrown a pass in college football in his life. So I mean, it was zeros across the board going against Carson Beck. His 6-year senior, yada yada yada. But. Yeah. So they were trying to figure things out on the fly. Like we saw them come alive at the end, and I was like, man, they have a chance here. But Miami's defense, they turned the heat up when they had to, and that was a very good game. But I came away impressed with Carr. I'm excited to see what Freeman's able to do with him. But I did notice that Notre Dame did miss Al Golden quite a bit. He moved on to Cincinnati. His style of defense, that's a very like smash mouth style defense, and it just wasn't there. A lot of very uncharacteristic things. Guys carrying through guys through zone, leaving their zone open for other crossers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That's usually stuff you don't see from their corners and their linebackers, but all that stuff will get worked out because Freeman's a pretty good coach too. So.
Yeah, and we talked about it, I think, in the group chat. They kind of start slow every single year. They kind of have their slow starts. It happens. They'll bounce back fine. I was just kind of impressed by Miami's effort on both sides in the trenches. So shout out to the Hurricanes, man. For this week, the upset pick. I know you can't have the same game.
No, Iowa's beating Iowa State.
Ooh.
Absolutely. So Iowa, they played against the University of Albany last week, so they didn't really have to do much. But Gronkowski, their starting quarterback, he had two completions on 4 attempts for like 44 yards. His QBR was 24.7 and a touchdown. But they had 50. They had 53 carries for 310 yards. You don't have to throw the ball too much when you're running it like that, and that's what Iowa does. They run the football well and they play good defense, and that spells trouble for someone like Beck who is so up and down in what he does. If Iowa's defense gets that chance for the offense and they just start running it down your throat and you have to play from behind, throwing the ball in the air, that defense is going to suffocate you. They always have good edge rushers. They always have good corners and a safety lurking around back there.
Linebackers.
So I mean that defense is always for real. And you give that stagnant offense something to hang around with. Even giving them a chance where they're just going to pound it down your throat. I think Iowa takes the Cyclones out of the top 25 this week with a victory.
It's a nice call, man, actually. I wasn't even thinking about that game. And I hate picking against this team because I do like the team. I like the program. I talked about them a lot last year. One of my favorite prospect, too. And that's Arizona State. And they're playing against Mississippi State. I got a feeling that they lose on the road in Starkville. And only because last year with the Bulldogs, they had like a really, really bad year. They had a bad defense, injuries, the whole thing kind of got in their way. But they've brought in a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball with these transfers. Brendan Thompson's got great speed. He's a really, really fast guy. Aiden Williams from Ole Miss. And just their line, too. They have a veteran offensive line. I think we have 3 graduate transfers up front. 3 seniors on the other side. Like, they have a lot of experience up there. So I think that plays in their factor. They'll be a lot better on defense too. And then Sam Leavitt last week wasn't that good against Northern Arizona. He was kind of up and down. And with no Cam Scatterboot, it's on him to kind of carry the load on both sides, running
Yep.
the football, throwing the football. Their weapon is Tyson, really good receiver,
Yep.
very, very good receiver, but he's one guy. So I just think that they might be a little bit outclassed, and Dillingham is very, very risky anywhere
Correct.
he's at, on the road, at home. I just think, the Bulldogs pull it together, get the upset.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good call because you're talking about Big 12 opponents versus bottom level SEC. That's still a different animal. Yeah,
Hmm.
that is good. That is a completely different animal. Like you're not playing Mountain West. You're not playing WEC. You're playing against some big boys who know how to play ball, regardless of where they are in the standings. But that's a good call. Like, but it's like to go off the Sam Levitt thing. It was week one. It takes some continuity to get in there. They're not really doing too much in practices and whatnot. So, I kind of expect that from almost all quarterbacks and offenses in week one. I mean, this week we did see some blowouts and stuff like that, some very high profile games. But if you take some of those games and you move into like week 3, week 4, it could be a different outcome because the teams are up and cycling around. So, I'm a big proponent of. We talked about in the group chat. Give you your non-conference games unless you're like your Army or whatnot. You give your non-conference games like your Grambling States, your Ohio's, your MAC schools, your WACs or whatever. You put those in your first 2 weeks, your tune-up weeks. Give your big non-conference game, and then roll right into conference play. Get to that meat of your schedule, and let your first 2 weeks be the weeks. Okay, we worked out all the stuff, and then let it go from there. But that's not how college football works.
Money,
but
money, money.
it's all about the money. But that's how I would do it. But a lot of these quarterbacks, they're going to struggle week 1, week 2, and then they're going to come off fire and they're going to look like a completely different team. So but that's a good call because, like I said, Mississippi State, that's a different breed of boys. Big boys over something like Northern Arizona.
Tell you, man. And I do think, like you said, the quarterbacks, I expect bounce back weeks from a lot of the guys last week.
Yep.
So K. Klubnik will bounce back. Arch will bounce back. It's so early to tell.
Correct.
And I think we're good, man. I think once the end of week 4, we'll see who's really what, and then we'll just kind of proceed into the season.
Yeah. I mean, it's either big game and then 2 easy games, or easy game, big game, easy game, and then you're in the schedule. Just depends on how much money they feel like making for these networks. But
I have no idea who's playing Colgate. Someone's playing Colgate this week. I'm like, yo.
Yeah.
Ah, man.
But I mean, it
man.
sucks for content like this because you have like, oh, there's one game to watch, and everyone's been watching that game. Shout out to everyone for watching that game. But it's like there's one game to watch, and it's only so much you can talk about. These 2 quarterbacks. We don't know anything about them, but we finally get to watch them. So man, that's one of those things.
Even to tie it back to last week too, because there was so much content spilling over from week 1 to this week. Are you at all shocked at what happened at Chapel Hill?
I like the overreactions after the first drive because Colin Cowherd, he's the second best coach I've ever seen. Like, and then he gets his he gets smoked. He gets his train run off the rails there real quick. But I'm kind of not surprised in a way because it's such
so much change.
Yeah, there's so much change. And then you're going. So they played against TCU. TCU has something to prove. They've been. Is Gary Patterson still a coach? Yeah.
I'm trying to think of his name. I can't think of his name.
I mean, regardless, I mean they're a team that they play fast. They play good defense, and it was expected. I think for me, because Bill's never coached at this level. It's a completely different animal from professional guys who are doing it for a living to kids who are doing school and everything else. And that's a lot. And he didn't adjust at all. And that's where they showed his quarterback completing a pass for like the first time in like 2.5 hours. That was absolutely ridiculous. I don't know if you've seen that. Where they're just like last completed pass was 8:12 Eastern time. It's like you didn't have to do Lopez like that, man.
Steve might be out of his element too, man.
Yeah,
just saying.
Yep,
might be out of his element because the results haven't been good, but it's 70 players, so you brought in 70 different players. It's a lot of changes, and again, they're North Carolina. You know what I'm saying? You're not at Clemson. you're not there yet. I think it'll take time, and I want to know even how he navigates through the whole NIL lifestyle with these
Correct.
players. That's the other part. It's, hey, can you wear this hat also of being the coach, also saying, hey, this is what NIL is looking like at college at that level. I just think it's different. And again, Fitz, Kalen the Bear, same thing. Fitz, I think if they swap sides, it would be totally different if they swap teams. If Belichick was at Bama and you had DeBear at Carolina, probably a totally different story. I just think it's just fits, perception, time and place, expectations are everything. That's the whole vibe that I get.
Yeah, talent level too. I mean, Alabama's talent level, is NFL-esque, I should say. And like you said, North Carolina fits more Kalen DeBoer, easier conference, and stuff like that. But we'll see how Bill bounces back, because this is the ACC. They might be a little bit better this year. Florida State's looking better. Syracuse is decent. Clemson, Clemson's there. We'll see what they look like,
Florida
but we'll see. We'll really see what's Bill was made of, because I don't know if he's cracked out to be a college coach.
I don't know if you like this, man. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
But man, any last thoughts that you had?
No, like I said, it's a light week for us. Not too much going on the heavy hitter schedule. But yeah, just enjoy it, because once we get into the meat of this bad boy, you're not gonna want to sit down, because like I said, I've got dates circled on my calendar: September 27th and November 1st. Those are the big ones. So.
You already know.
Yeah.
But for my dude, Tyler Moore, I'm LP Cruz. This has been the Freshman 15 College Football Podcast. Peace.
Peace.